Welcome to Digital Hospitality. I am your host, Shawn Walchef. This is a Cali BBQ media production. We've got a special 3 episodes that are going to cover how to open up a ghost kitchen or a virtual brand. We had multiple conversations on Clubhouse, which I highly suggest you join. We have a digital hospitality room on Clubhouse, but we joined forces with the Best Served podcast, Chef Jensen Cummings and Kyle Inserra from the National Restaurant Owners podcast to host a 3-part series on how to open up a ghost kitchen. So if you're fascinated with digital hospitality, which while you're listening to this podcast, we hope you enjoy this episode and the subsequent 2 episodes. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, please reach out at Shawn P Walchef on social media. That's SHAWN, middle initial P, WALCHEF. And we have recently launched our media coaching program. So if you'd like to receive some media coaching, or if you'd like more information on how to open up a restaurant, a virtual kitchen, a ghost kitchen, how to become a media company, please reach out to us. We hope you enjoy the episode and be sure to send us a tweet. Let us know what you think.
Welcome, virtual ghost kitchen launch party with myself, Jensen Cummings, the Best Served podcast. We got Shawn P Walchef of Cali Barbecue Media and Digital Hospitality, as well as Kyle and Sarah from Restaurant Owner Podcast on. I'll let these guys introduce themselves in a little bit. We're going to go through some definitions because, again, this stuff can be really confusing on what's happening of the shifting landscape. So virtual ghost kitchens, lots of terminology, and I'll try to break that down for you a little bit so we at least have a little bit of an understanding of what language we're speaking here. And with no further ado, I want to get Shawn and Kyle to introduce themselves. Super honored to be sharing the stage with these 2 operators, these 2 visionaries that I definitely look up to. So I appreciate the opportunity to share this space with you. Shawn, you want to let people know who you are, what you're all about?
Sure. Thank you, Jensen. My name is Shawn Walchef, owner of Cali Barbecue Media. We are a barbecue brand and a media brand. We own a single unit barbecue restaurant for the last 13 years in San Diego. We opened in a very difficult location just after the Great Recession. So not only was it after the Great Recession, but it was also a time where the iPhone came out. So we've literally built our business. We struggled like hell to get people to care about who we were and what we did. But we built our business using digital marketing, social media marketing, getting on all the apps. And now we've launched our first ghost kitchen location in Barrio Logan at the Barrio Food Hub. So we're part of 23 other brands that some of them operate multiple concepts. So probably about 50 different brands coming out of one location. Steven Swiderski, who is in the audience, is our catering manager. He's running that Barrio Food Hub location. Stover is my producer of Cali Barbecue Media. I see Josh in the audience. I see Calvin. I see Brian. So I'm really loving Clubhouse because it's real time. I would like to call live podcasting. I mean, Jensen and Kyle and I have all become friends. We've all been on each other's podcasts, and I respect the hell out of the work that they're doing because it's boots on the ground, but then it's also sharing it through media. So having conversations like this through podcasting, through Clubhouse, obviously on Instagram and all the other social platforms. But I'm excited to dive into the opportunity. And there's never been a greater opportunity to be in business, especially if you're using the thing that's in your hand. The future of food, the future of hospitality, we're holding it right now. And that's the smartphone. I mean, the smartphone is connecting real life to digital, and those digital stories that people are telling online is bringing people into our businesses. It's bringing people to our food. It's bringing us to the story behind the food. And I'm really excited for the conversation today. I know Troy, I brought up on stage as well. He has a limited time, so I'm not sure when we can get him to speak before 9:30, but I've been in Clubhouse rooms with him for the last week while my family, my wife and children are in Bulgaria. I've been going all in on Clubhouse, but I feel like Troy and I have become close friends, and that's the cool thing about this app. So thanks for letting me share, and I'm excited for the conversation.
Such great relationships formed all over the interwebs through this pandemic and Clubhouse. The timing of it was perfect. And this is where Shawn and Kyle and so many are connected. So Kyle, you want to go ahead and tell people a little bit about yourself, what you're all about, and kind of the connection to the virtual ghost kitchen model.
Sure. Thanks, Jensen. And I really hate going after Shawn because he's so well spoken. It's like he's so put together.
Get out of here!
Can't take it.
Don't flatter me. we'll bring Stover on stage, who produces every podcast and hears every word that comes out of my mouth.
That's where the truth comes. Okay. My name is Kyle Inserra. I'm a commercial real estate advisor that works strictly with emerging restaurant concepts across the country. I'm also a restaurateur, have owned my own restaurants for the better part of about 20 years. Just like Shawn said, I'm big into using digital media both in my commercial practice, the restaurant practice, and any other practice, i.e. TikTok with my wife where she gets annoyed. I smile every time Shawn says he's a restaurant and digital media company because I think that's where we're at. And I love it, and I love Clubhouse, and I'm excited to hear everybody's thoughts on ghost kitchens because I think I have a few controversial ones.
Oh, I dig it. Yes. Lots of controversy across everything happening in our space right now, which is why we're here. So the goal of this room, and I think many more rooms to come with Shawn, Kyle, and I, is we're just trying to think differently. We recognize that the industry that we came up in, a lot of things that we built have been exposed in many ways. Toxic culture, unsustainable practices, non-viable business models as a whole. And so now it's time to reimagine everything. Like Shawn said, this phone is a powerful tool, and it is how customers are finding us and now how customers are ordering directly from us. And so we want to unpack that a little bit and kind of dig into this new model. So I want to go through some terminology stuff because even for me, sometimes it gets a little bit confusing what we're talking about. What we're talking about is a ghost kitchen, a virtual kitchen, a dark kitchen. This one's fucking weird and new that I just heard. A headless restaurant, which just evokes all kinds of horrible imagery, talking about controversy. So we're going to be digging into that. What we're talking about, and there's multiple different models of this. You'll see virtual restaurants where somebody may have a restaurant and they have a taco restaurant, they have a barbecue restaurant. But at night, to utilize and maximize their space, they may also do a wings exclusive concept. I think of It's Just Wings, right, which is the Chili's concept that did $150 million in its first year, something that Shawn pointed out. And so you can use your existing restaurant space to create multiple brands within that. So that's one. You have the shared kitchen, where you have three kitchens that are sharing one space, that are utilizing and sharing each other's equipment. So almost like a commissary model, but you're basically creating a little bit of a co-op space. So you kind of have that shared kitchen. You have the potential for a centralized kitchen. This would be where your kitchen is servicing multiple satellite outlets of your own. And Kyle can probably help us unpack this, the real estate side of it being so expensive that you might have smaller locations that are doing carry out and delivery, and then you have a centralized kitchen that's feeding maybe 3 of your units. Then you have the kind of like SaaS, software as a service. You kind of have the COS, kitchen as a service, where we'll talk about this a little bit. This is something that I'm intimately involved. My team is consulting on a project that opens here in the next couple of weeks in Denver called Chef Ready, where it's a virtual food hall, 10 locations, 250 square foot kitchens that operators can rent out for, say, a year, 2 years, and be able to do delivery and carry out only. No bar, no dining room, just people walking in the door to pick up food on the way home, or utilizing third-party delivery apps. And then finally, you'll have these multifunctional service providers where they are utilizing multiple concepts under one roof, utilizing different models and potentially having both dine-in service as well as the carry-out and delivery. So a lot to unpack there. Again, there's a recording of this where you can figure out what the hell is going on. We're also going to share a ton of resources. So in the descriptions, in the recordings, we'll have links to a bunch of information, because today is going to melt your fucking face off. So don't worry about remembering all this. We'll have that information for you so that you guys can navigate that later. Some other terms I want you to be you're aware of?
Jensen, I wanted to add one more term.
Please do.
And that's the friendly ghost kitchen, which is what we advocate for. So by friendly ghost kitchen, it goes back to what Kyle said, is we believe every brand needs to be their own media brand. And the problem that I have with ghost kitchens is it evokes a digital grab for real estate. So people trying to open up just putting a logo out there, and we're a wing concept, but not telling the story behind the concept. And what we try to do with our friendly ghost kitchen, and Stephen, like I said, is in the audience. He runs the kitchen for us. But we try to share the story. The barbecue isn't getting smoked downtown San Diego at Barrio Logan. We're smoking it in Spring Valley, and we're sharing that story of the process on social media. So I think that's something that is important for any kind of brands. If you're a single unit brand, if you're a caterer that's launching, if you're a chef that's opening up a concept, it's important to share that story of what's happening, because it's through that transparency that people are going to become regulars, and you become part of that community. You're not just there for a transaction. You're not just there to make a quick sale. You're there forever. You're there to be a part of the community.
Oh, preach, brother. That is something we're going to talk about a lot today, is how we bring hospitality in something that feels cold, a la the ghost kitchen. Feels like there's not people in your dining room being able to interact with. So we're going to talk about that a lot. A couple of their terminologies just to break down. Third-party delivery apps. We're talking about DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, Postmates. All right, so we're going to dig into that. Service fees, delivery fees. These are the charges that are getting tacked on. This is where there's more controversy. Are they charging you 30%? How is that a viable business model? So those service and delivery fees are going to be touched on quite a bit as well. Last mile. Last mile is the actual driving infrastructure. So somebody might be utilizing DoorDash. They might also have Chow Now or Ritual, say, on their website, where somebody's ordering directly from them through their portal. And then even DoorDash Drives or another driving logistics transportation service would then service that last mile and get the food actually to the customer, so that you are utilizing that, but you may not be utilizing the marketing functionality of what a marketplace like DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats is. So that's last mile. Internally, we'll talk about order aggregators, the ability, something like Cubo, where all these orders can be coming from these different platforms, and you might have to have 6 different tablets, some of the technology that's aggregating that information so that you can work off a single platform and be able to execute tickets. That'll come up, I'm sure. KDS, Kitchen Display System, that is where you're able to then know what these orders are, being able to push them. The term bump will come up, especially when we're talking about these kind of virtual food hall models, a la Cloud Kitchen, Kitchen United being some of the big national brands in that space. And so that's the breakdown of some of the terminology. I'm already exhausted. I've already talked too much. Kyle, jump in here. Help me out. Let's set the stage for the scale and scope of this massive, what's happening with delivery and carryout, non-existent when we came up in the industry, and now it is becoming a mainstay. And I think some restaurants did it begrudgingly during the pandemic and are trying to go back to business as usual, and there is no business as usual. This is here to stay and going to be ever growing. So can you break it down, the numbers for us a little bit, the scale, and give us some context there?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you 2 stories. Personally, one, when I started the restaurant business, when I started as an owner in 2008, I remember distinctly these own words coming out of my mouth saying, there's no fucking way we're doing delivery. We're not doing delivery. I don't want any delivery guys in here. We were making like a thin crust pizza, and it was like, this is not going to fly. It's not going to work in New York in February. You know, if you're the 5th spot on here, it's not going to work. The packaging doesn't work. The pasta is going to be wrong. And it's amazing to see over the last 10 years, particularly over the last year, how important this has become, and how operators, even operators that I know that have a killer business, did not have an infrastructure in place to tackle this now. And it's been completely, top of the mind since the pandemic. And it's interesting to see all these ancillary companies come up and show companies how to manage it, whether it's the platform, how it's coming in, how to package it better, how to brand it better. I would say that 99% of the conversations that I have when I'm showing a space to a client is where the delivery is going to be. Where are we going to, do we have space to put another fryer in the back? Can we put a whole other line in the back? It's been incredibly important to everybody I spoke to. And that goes from everyone, like a Next Level Burger, a national client that I work with, to a mom and pop concept here in New York. They've all put it top of mind because they're all competing against each other when they're on these platforms. So it's been interesting to watch. And I think, the ones who have transitioned well are in the best position to really kind of take the next step here and really dominate this next, restaurant resurgence or rewired, whatever you want to call it. It's amazing how it's kind of come on the scene so fast.
Yeah, and just give everyone just a couple numbers, just to give you an idea of Gary Vee talks about, buying beachfront property in Malibu in 1910, right? Or I think there's just, Shawn mentioned this. Jeff Bezos talked about how the internet, this weird thing, this fad called the internet, was growing at 2,300% and started this little book company called Amazon that now obviously is a behemoth. So there's massive opportunity. This is a land grab. Global online food delivery service market is expected to grow from 115 billion in 2020 to 116 billion in 2021. This year, 26 billion additional. Talking about a 10% growth just year on date now as things open back up. So a lot of analysts expected this to kind of plateau a little bit, maybe dip back down as people really push themselves back into indoor, outdoor dining and full service. But it looks like it's going to grow. And we're talking about 192, almost 200 billion in 2025. And globally, they're talking trillions within the next couple decades. So massive opportunity there. Big numbers as far as that goes. Anything else as far as the numbers go?
I know that Shawn had thrown together some stuff here, and it seems like, that $71 billion, the growth to $71 billion a year in the ghost kitchen market. That is a staggering number when it comes to any level of food related sales. But when you see names involved with this, like Amazon, Google, Uber, there's something here, right? They see something here, and a lot of it to me is going down to customer data and all that stuff. I don't want to really go down that rabbit hole yet, but it's a behemoth, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I wanted to add, you just have to follow what are the giants doing, and the giants like Amazon, they invested $575 million for 16% stake in Deliveroo, and that's a ghost kitchen hub in the UK. Cloud Kitchens, that's a venture that is backed by Travis Kalanick, the former Uber founder. Kitchens United is backed by Google's venture branch. This is just telling you what these companies understand. Gary Vee just got involved in a restaurant concept. You see all the celebrities that are launching their virtual kitchen brands, the YouTube personalities that have their virtual kitchen brands, the franchising brands. So, this is part of the ecosystem that we're not always going to know where that food is coming from, which is back to why I say Friendly Ghost Kitchen is telling the story. And ultimately, it's going to be systems that are going to prevail. There's a reason why McDonald's is as successful as it is, because no matter how you feel about McDonald's, if you order a Big Mac here in San Diego and I go to Bulgaria and I order a Big Mac, it's going to taste the same. So, as these companies scale as fast as they do, we know personally, just cooking barbecue, we have to build a master smokehouse in order to open up 10 additional ghost kitchen locations. If we're going to do that, we have to focus on the craft and we have to focus on the story. So it's a very interesting time, and I'm excited to have this conversation.
So two things I want to say, and then we're gonna get to some people who are going to tell us a little bit about what they're thinking in the ghost kitchen space, concepts, ideas, brainstorm a little bit, get some feedback, Q&A, all that. There's an interesting thing at play here, because so many people in our circles, in our orbits, so many of the people in this room here are so fiercely independently minded that, we're all about that chef driven, the mom and pop, those concepts. And so there's two things at play here. One, we're talking about fucking behemoth companies that are in this space. It can be daunting and overwhelming. How the hell would I compete with one of these companies? And the answer is that you don't. You do not compete with them. You do not play their game. What Shawn is talking about, what I'm going to continue to say again and again and again, is that the food does not actually matter. The food is just the proof that you are who you say you are. The stories that you tell, the community that you build, the brand that you express is always what's going to set you apart. The food better be fire. You better have those systems. You better be able to execute. That's just the barrier of entry. That's just the cost of doing business. What you need to do is not play their game. You need to siphon as much learning and systems and strategies and tactics from them, absolutely, and then be able to deploy that in the meaningful, thoughtful, and personal way that you're going to build something that speaks to who you are, who your community is, what they're all about. So I think that's going to be an undercurrent of this, and we're hoping that we give you enough of the nuts and bolts to be able to do that. My hope is that one person in this room gets a piece of feedback that changes their trajectory, that two people connect, and please follow each other. Click on everyone's face in the room right now and follow them, because you never know if that person, just like Shawn and Kyle and I are here because we answer every DM, we do every collab, we believe in building community, that you will find somebody who will change your life and or you will change theirs, that you become a mentor, that they invest in you, that they start working with you, that they have a product or a service that can change your game. So please utilize this time, this space well. So with no further ado, I want to bring some people up to talk. Shawn, you mentioned Troy might have to bounce.
Yeah.
I want to start there, and then I got a couple people, and we can kind of bounce around a little bit, but I want to give everyone time to tell us what they're up to.
Thank you. I want to bring Troy up on stage and pass the mic to him. I have been beyond impressed at all of his situational knowledge when it comes to robotics and AI and hospitality from an operations standpoint, a marketing standpoint, and a thought leader standpoint. So, Troy, I'm going to give you the mic. Hopefully, you can hear me and you get your time before you have to head out.
Hey, Shawn. Hey, guys. Thanks so much. Really awesome to be here. I actually squeezed out a little extra time. I'll be here a little bit longer than I said, but thanks for that consideration, and I'm glad I can make it. I knew this was going to be a powerhouse room, and my God, I mean, look here, Eric Cacciatore sitting next to me. That's awesome. I don't know if you want to tee it up. I mean, what do you want me to kind of touch on? I mean, obviously, it's a big universe. You guys got a 4-hour list of terms there that you could go through and talk about. But,
Troy, I think the most important thing for me that I've been finding out about Clubhouse, and anybody that's listening to this audio recording through any way you find it on podcasts or through social, is getting involved in Clubhouse with who people are, because it's the connection. So if you could let the room know who Troy is and what you do, then people can click on your profile, start to follow you, turn notifications on when you're talking in other rooms, because I know I have my notifications on whenever you join another stage. So that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks. So, I've been a hospitality specialist, turnaround consultant, and restaurant scale developer for 25 years. 3 years ago, we split off my hospitality group into two factions and created the Kiwi Restaurant Partners with my partner, Mark Bailey, who's been a franchise operations executive and brand scaler for about 40 years, with the intention of two things: is start to kind of be more of a partner to restaurants who are looking to scale from the ground up, and ultimately find their way into the franchise universe and do it right, because we see it not done correctly most of the time, or a lot of the time. We thought we could bring a boutique consulting firm to that area, and then ultimately build our own restaurant group. And that's what has evolved over the last 3 years with the advent of Nourish. And Nourish launches this year with 4 pod kitchens in the Los Angeles area. And basically, we are a venue agnostic, self-contained, all healthful organic food hall or ghost kitchen, or all of the terms that you threw out at the beginning of this. So Nourish will be a one-stop shop, all owned, operated corporate store housing 8 to 10 organic eatery brands that are ingredient sourced is all regional, seasonal, organic, clean, known sourcing ingredients. So our idea is basically to expand on the sweet greens universe well beyond the salad opportunity when you want to eat healthy, or the vegan restaurant when you want to eat healthy, because we're not vegan, but we do have lots of options in that area. So we just want to bring more healthy food to more people in more places. And if you give me 695 square feet of kitchen, I can run 10 brands off of that and bring you a tremendous variety through a collection of like-minded concepts. So that's what we're up to, and really appreciate having the opportunity.
Thank you, Troy. That was incredible.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a recurring theme. We got a lot of visionary people in the room right now that are really trying to change everything about the way that we interact with food, our relationship with food, because we are all in the relationship business, and no relationship was ever built by any product or service. It's always built by people. We just use the products, the food, the space to galvanize us, to bring people together, like-mindedness, to have similar tastes and preferences. So I appreciate hearing a lot of that. I want to bring Michellee Fox up to speak now. And for anybody that doesn't know Michellee Fox, just speaking of visionary chef, farmer based in Washington, just badass Brazilian skater who is doing amazing work in mentorship in the continent of Africa with Food Bay TV, somebody who is absolutely going to change the game for sure. And we've talked a lot about terminology. Speaking of terminology, seasonality, another fucking catchphrase word that has become so hollow in our industry, is this idea of seasonality. But Michellee is really looking to reimagine what that means in the way that we interact with food, and thinking about both low tech, fingers in the soil, to high tech in the way that we navigate, connecting those two potentially polarizing mentalities and approaches. And so, Michellee, tell us a little bit about kind of what you're thinking in this space, food concepts. What is something that you have working? What's something that you want other people to pick up the mantle and be able to carry? To speak to us a little bit.
Jensen, good morning. Thank you for that amazing introduction. I don't have to say anything else about myself. That was amazing. So glad to be here. I was thinking about ghost kitchens when you invited me to this room. I'm literally on 90 acres in the middle of nowhere, almost at the Canadian border. So a ghost kitchen obviously here doesn't work, right? But I was thinking, okay, so when I hear everybody talking about ghost kitchens and we're going towards that, it's like this race of how many brands can I put together, and how many, how much of the market can I bite for myself, and all that. So if I'm going to bring anything into this room, I think it's the idea of take a minute, take a deep breath, slow down. You don't need to bite the entire market. You need to see how can you make an impact, because going back or keep going in this motto of let's just make more, spend more, make more, call Cisco, get whatever, sell as much as we can. We're not doing a favor to anyone, not to the planet, not to ourselves, not to our children. So take a second. So if I was going to do a ghost kitchen, if I could do a ghost kitchen, what I would do, I think, is I will partnership with a few farms around me, like true partnerships where we're talking seasonal food here, where you really would cook with what is in season at the time. And you would offer that to your clients saying, hey, maybe you have pasta in your house, but we are making this amazing sauce. We make 5 sauces a week. We make 5 sauces a week. We make, everything that we can make straight from ingredients to create kind of a product that could be delivered to people, because most people know how to. But all the things, the jam that can go in that burger or the sauce that can go into that pasta, that's something that people need chefs to do that for them. So instead of creating, just the idea of creating a ghost kitchen that doesn't necessarily provide you with the entire meal already all done, but provides you with those key ingredients and recipes that you need a chef to do. So you can then learn, you can have a QR code so then the chef can teach teach you how to do it for the next time. But yeah, to not be super long-winded, just the relationship, everybody, if you're in the restaurant, and I talked to Troy a lot about this, remember, without the farmers, we have no food. And without partnering with farmers, they are all dying because they're old and their children don't want to be farmers anymore. So what can we do to make sure that small and medium farms are still farming in the next 20 years? Thank you.
Yeah, I want to let Kyle and Shawn pick this up, but I want to interesting the way that you're positioning this. What I think there is an absolute opportunity for is that somebody in the culinary space becomes almost the pass-through for the agriculture within their community, which I think is interesting. So you can do a multitude of things. I mean, I think every single brand needs to be in CPG, consumer packaged goods. If you're not packaging your salsa, your chimichurri sauce, your barbecue sauce, your seasoning, you are missing the game that you're actually in. That brand recognition, awareness, staying top of mind, key. I think creating that conduit where you can do a multitude of things. You can do ready to go. You can make that complete pasta dish. You can give them parts and pieces of it. You can look at being a la meal kit, and all of those things being on demand, I think, is the key. That, again, to Shawn's point, you pick up this phone in your hand and you're able to get those pieces. Shawn, Kyle, either of you guys want to pick it up? What will be the questions, concerns, thinking about Ghost Kitchen, Virtual Kitchen? Part of the vulnerability would be the cost of it associated with then just being a pass-through. So you do need to be able to make sure that you get a high enough ticket transaction. Thoughts there? Kyle, Shawn, you guys want to pick this up a little bit with Michelle?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Michelle said. That's an incredible story, and it's something that we hold near and dear to our heart. And that's, even though this is the great gold rush, the digital gold rush for real estate, and trying to figure out how many brands you can launch, ultimately, what we see as the competitive advantage is the people that are craftsmen. So if you're focusing on your craft, and if that's sustainability, if that's healthy food, if that's barbecue, if that's pizza, whatever your craft is, ultimately it's slow food, fast. So there was the huge fast food movement, obviously, which now all these fast food brands have the opportunity to become ghost kitchens and virtual kitchens. But the real competitive advantage that we see as independent operators, as chefs, as people that want to get into the space is, like, this is allowing us to get a seat at the table. So if we get a seat at the table, then we have the opportunity to understand, well, if we can build a master smokehouse where we're doing our craft and slow smoking our barbecue, now it's just a distribution. How do we get our barbecue to other people and don't discriminate that they have to come to us to get it? So if they order it through their phone, can we get it to them? And that's, ultimately what I like to talk about is the biggest opportunity. And that's, how do we slow down food and serve better food and serve better stories, but then deliver it digitally?
Yeah, Kyle, jump in. Yep.
I was, one of the things that I see as being a challenge for the independent ghost kitchen operators, I'd love to hear Shawn's experience or anybody else's experience in the space, is marketing, right? I mean, it's kind of like, it's the same deal that's happening in traditional real estate, is you're competing for the attention with the big boys. So if you're a ghost kitchen that makes a fried chicken sandwich, well, you better fucking bring it, because your marketing has got to be on point and how you're going to stand out, because nobody wants to scroll down to the 10th most, visible chicken sandwich on whatever platform you're on. You offer native delivery. Okay, I love that. I think that's what you should absolutely do. But how are you driving traffic to your ordering? I think there's a lot of challenges out there, and which is the reason why I said there were some controversial things. I'm not all in on the ghost kitchen thing without seeing who's running the marketing and what the plan is, because it is so much more about that than it is about the food. And I think if you are not prepared to put that hat on as an operator, you better put it as a line item in your budget, because you're playing against the Popeyes, the Chili's, the Chipotles. You're paying against everybody. And if it's not top of mind, it's like opening up in a dark alley. You would never take that space. You would never take the space with no parking, with no visibility, with no signage, with crappy rent. You wouldn't do it. So I think there's a belief amongst a lot of people, and I don't think, I think everyone in this room has it figured out to an extent that we all do. But They're like, I'm just going to open a ghost kitchen. And good luck. I had the CEO of Zool on my podcast, and I'm not trying to push the podcast, but check out that episode because there's some real challenges to getting these spaces up and running. In addition to the marketing, there's some operational stuff. There's zoning. There's, can you get gas to the site? There's a lot of things, and I think it's all coming to light now. So I'm really happy to be part of this conversation.
I couldn't agree more with Kyle, and I think that's something that I need to talk more about. Is the ghost kitchen opportunity is a great opportunity for us because we've been operating in a very difficult market for a very long time, and we figured out how to use the smartphone to tell stories. So back to what, Kyle, your point about marketing is, I think the competitive advantage is what my media mentor David Meltzer teaches me, and that's the truth vibrates the fastest. So the competitive advantage of a chef or somebody that's getting into the ghost kitchen space, while they might not be able to move up the rankings on Uber Eats or DoorDash, they do have the opportunity to share the story of the food through social. So sharing the story of that chicken sandwich through social, through Instagram, through TikTok, through YouTube is going to take a lot more time, and it's going to be an investment. But if they start doing that, that's going to be their competitive advantage over all the big corporate giants that A, aren't willing to do it, B, don't know how to do it, and C, probably won't approve or have too many approval processes for how that's going to happen.
Priya Shah talks about that the if you build it, they will come marketing strategy is not a good strategy. And I completely agree with that. We had this idea that if just focus on the food, if the food is great, they'll come back. And that was probably never actually true, and definitely not true today, that we have to connect on a meaningful level. So Michellee, what you're talking about, I think the opportunity is absolutely there. The vulnerability that we need to overcome is we need to make farmers fucking cool rock stars. Like, they have to be the attention grabbers because what they're doing is the most meaningful work, right? For me, always talking about the dishwasher, most important person in our industry. That's why we have had dishwashers on our show, which nobody seems to care about, yet I think they should. And so telling those meaningful stories, because look, you can't compete with McDonald's on a burger. You can't compete with Popeyes on the chicken, but you can have a chicken that tells a different kind of story because they get to know the rancher and the farmer that is raising that chicken. Yeah. You have a Plymouth Rock breed of chicken, like connect people to that story. So Michellee, anything else you're thinking that would help us kind of navigate that? I know that's an important mission of yours, and it's a big uphill climb for sure, as you know.
Yeah, I think that, that what you just said right there is amen. You're so great at speaking me Brazilian. I'm like, oh, okay, how can I say it better? But what I wanted to add to that is that, okay, like I think Shawn and Kyle said, you never, you have Popeye up there, you have McDonald's up there. When I order food, I don't even see those at the top. Right? Because I don't eat those, because what I want to have in my body are not things that, you pay $15, you get that meal. Guess what? Your body, expels it out within the hour. So you're not saving money, you're not saving time, you're eating empty calories and nutrition. So I think the consumer is waking up, woke up, but it's also it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger by bringing the farmer into that narrative. It helps that cause, which is food as medicine, not food as poisoning. These companies, preservatives are killing people. We're farming. So I'll just say this. Let's stop farming people and let's start farming food again. Thank you.
I will say this. I think that's a great point in terms of the marketing piece, right? Like, if you can get that part out there, I think that's your angle, right? I mean, you're letting people know what they're actually doing to their bodies. And instead, you tell the story of, I actually give a shit. This is what I'm doing to put food on your table. This is the farmer that grew it. This is my supplier. Check him out. Here's his truck. This is where we load the stuff. There's this, this is Mike. He helps me make the whatever it is. I mean, that kind of stuff, that's the advantage, right? Like, I think going deep, hyper local in your your local market, your regional market with that kind of stuff. I mean, that's where you really differentiate, right? You're going to find your vibe attracts your tribe kind of deal. I think that's the the distinct advantage you're going to have over these ghost kitchen brands that are offshoots of the major players.
Yeah, 100%. And, being a sustainable coach, I help restaurants. I have helped 5 or 6 restaurants now this year. I'm going towards sustainability. So if there's anybody here that have a restaurant, want to do a ghost kitchen or anything like that, my DM is always open on Instagram. Send me a message and you're like, I can't find a farmer. I can't find this. Connect with me. I will help you. There's always a way to go away to not have to order from the Fisco truck. I will help you get that going. Thank you.
Michellee, and definitely check out Michellee here on Clubhouse, influential here as well, making an impact with Female Farmers United. So search out that club as well, and the power of food type conversations happening there. Some compelling stuff for sure. Little cliffhanger. Keshia's going to come up in a little bit and take that, because somebody who's very focused on the body and the food and the nutrition side of what's happening. So I love that Michellee started with the soil, and now we're going to get into talking about some of the nutrition with Keshia here in a bit. But I wanted to go to something personal, because I think the personal and the ability to express personality is going to be key. I think we keep hitting on that in multiple ways. So I want to bring Katie Fisco to talk to us a little bit, who's just kind of starting out on their journey, is somebody who this was a second career for them, like super proud mom of 3 that can hustle in the kitchen and absolutely is somebody who will make a difference in the scene down in Colorado Springs, has been a right hand for Brother Luck of Top Chef fame, and is now venturing out, somebody who speaks a lot on cultural food, cultural appropriation, understanding their own heritage, and that Filipina movement right now that I think is so underrated. And do not sleep on the Filipino culture and cuisine. Best pork that you could imagine, and some amazing flavor combinations. So anyway, sorry. You, Katie, tell us about your concept. I get fired up every time I think about it. So break it down for us a little bit. What are you thinking? What are you trying to get into? Because I think your personality is going to shine through this concept, and that's what we need, no matter what type of brick and mortar or ghost kitchen or food truck you are doing.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to thank you for this time in this space. Huge blessing to me to be in the right time and right place right now. And also thank you, Jensen, for being the most awesome Flavor Flav of just the best hype man. So thank you for touching on my story. I'm Filipino American. My mom's from Nueva Ecija. It's like central Philippines. And my husband, him and his family immigrated here when he was 8 years old. They're from Iba Zambales. And I'm very passionate about celebrating Filipino food and not shying away from the fermented stuff or the scary things that other people might find alien or foreign. And so I just really want to dig into that and celebrate it and have Filipinos be proud of their food instead of only showing up with adobo and only showing up with pancit and lumpia because that's American friendly to American palates. So I want to be unapologetic about how our food and our culture and our people are presented, but also be welcoming. So yeah, that's me. And as far as ghost kitchens go, I'm interested on any wisdom and input, especially from Michelle. I definitely came into this room to talk about connecting with vendors that I would be proud to represent and uplift in my community. Also starting a young professional and social Filipino community group here in Colorado Springs. So if you know anybody who might be interested or wants to get involved, get in touch with me. We're going to be connected with the Philam community here. Yeah, so that's me. Thank you.
Let's stay with that hive mind here. Let's give some feedback. I think one of the things that you're going to run into is access to the proper ingredients at the right quality level of your expectation is going to be a key factor there. So maybe Katie wanted to come back to you. Have you run into issues with that? Have you not gotten quite the ingredients that you need? Is it a sourcing issue? Could Michellee connect you with farmers that then could start cultivating certain products? Like what's the vulnerability you see maybe in the supply chain side? Because that could be an issue, a practical thing that we could address right now.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, working in a couple different kitchens, not just for Brother, but Ephemera here in Colorado Springs, great, in a little food hall, Kawadi off of Tejon, popping in and out of kitchens and seeing what chefs are actually using. Sometimes they have to break down, not have to, but they're kind of succumb to using Fisco because they need the product right away and they don't have the relationship. So I think there's a breakdown in relationship between, for whatever reason, farmers in the Colorado area, Colorado Springs, Denver area, and chefs and cooks in the Colorado Springs area. We have a couple vendors that we do use, like Growers Organic, Food Maven, and then a couple mushroom growers, suppliers here that they grow here locally, and we source from them. So those are just a small handful, but I feel like there's got to be more, and there's just got to be more people that I'm not in the right place at the right time for that.
All right, look, you can count on us. Everybody in this room is going to look through their phone and find that one person to connect you with. So make sure, click on Katie's profile. And let's see, yes, there you go. KTCONS on Insta, and we'll make sure we get you some support. Anything as far as that goes, Michellee, maybe this is good insight for you. Kyle, Shawn, for you guys, sourcing is always a major issue. Sometimes it's amazing that we have an international opportunity to get ingredients from everywhere, and sometimes it creates vulnerability. So any thoughts there, Michellee, any ways that Katie could cultivate some relationships that could serve her cause and concept? No, maybe we lost Michellee. Shawn, Kyle, anything for you guys? I think supply chain is an interesting notion now more than ever, especially if you're looking to get very, very culturally cuisine specific.
Troy, do you want to jump in? I see you flashing your mic.
Yeah, so, when Katie was talking, I'm very familiar with her territory. I lived in Breckenridge for 3 years. My wife was in Vail for 6, and totally understand the challenges, as you get onto the Front Range. There's not a lot of agriculture that meets that need. I'm digging real deep right now into vertical farming and the opportunities that exist there. I'm in California, where we have an abundance of agriculture. My wife's family owns a 130-acre avocado lemon farm, and we're surrounded in that valley by everything you could ever want. But the logistical challenge for Nourish is, when we go to places that I go to Phoenix, what am I going to do for fresh greens that don't have to travel 700 miles? Because that's our promise, is to ensure that all of our ingredients come within 350 miles of each store is our goal. Logistical nightmare to try to scale a 300 to 500 unit concept across the United States and internationally. But so vertical farming, I think, is an interesting opportunity, and there's several players in the field that I've been spending a lot of time with. So whether it's like Freight Farms, which is a container-based vertical farming platform, or an in-store farming platform by Babylon Farms, and there's more coming. There's some coming on very large scale. You're going to see Sensei Agriculture show up in deserts with massive vertical robotic based opportunities. So, but it's not unaffordable. So literally, Katie, a group in your area could buy 1 to 3 of these units and serve 20 to 30 restaurants all of their produce needs, at least from a greens. And forget microgreens, we don't want to get into that conversation, but at least from a greens, a variety of greens point of view, and certainly some vegetables as well. But the way to satisfy a very specific need might be to do it yourself or get a co-op together to invest in some opportunities. And it doesn't have to be in a freight container, although that makes it very flexible. You can go vertical in just about any space. So I'm really excited about that. We are actually committed to having a freight farm at every pod park we build, and we're committed to a Babylon vertical, a scalable, not the cabinet. They have these pretty cabinets that you can put in your living room or in your front of house, but an actual scalable system in our food hall locations as well. So I think that's, to Michellee's point, know your farmer. And I love this about the pandemic, and I love this about Clubhouse. This is a huge conversation across a lot of rooms, and the connection to the farmer. And to Kyle's point, and Shawn is the barbecue media company of the world. you've got to get out there and tell that story. And I'm really excited. We have a film team set up, and we're actually starting with my family's farm, but we'll be going around and doing a video profile and interview of every farmer and rancher we work with. So this is the future for people that are serious about good, clean, healthy food coming to your table. And I think it's going to put a dent in the industry in regards to people shifting towards a healthier option.
Sure, I appreciate that. We're going to need you to share links on Babylon Sensei and anything else you think is of interest. Because again, we are going to have a massive amount of links on the description of this recorded episode. Again, we'll get that up on the Best Served podcast on this upcoming Tuesday, noon Eastern time, so that you have access to these resources. Lots of, again, the terminology, lots of stuff on the numbers, some things and breakdowns as far as the cost of actually operating. So we'll have some of that information for you to be able to peruse through, because it's a lot for sure.
Hey, Jensen, I just had a real quick question. Troy, are you going to be repurposing that video into an RSS feed for podcast?
Yes, because Shawn's going to teach me how, or Eric, or yes.
Stover's here in the room. He's on it.
Yesterday, I pushed Guy Eats, who's the Cal Ripken of Clubhouse. If you guys aren't following Guy, he's phenomenal. He puts on a restaurant marketing podcast. Actually, if you're in the room, go ahead and click on the little Monopoly greenhouse on the top, and so you can follow Digital Hospitality. But I was pushing Guy to start his podcast. He was waiting for it to be perfect, and he's already hosting just incredible rooms every day on Clubhouse. And Jensen's doing it for us, thankfully. Stover's in the audience. I think he's still there. Yeah, Stover's there. So we'll repurpose this as well onto Digital Hospitality for our podcast. But Troy, I look forward to hearing more about that. And Michellee and Katie and Keshia, I hope you guys are doing the same. And if you're not following Restaurant Unstoppables, we do have the host, the unstoppable host himself, sitting in on the conversation, Eric Cacciatore. So follow those guys as well.
All right. So as I mentioned, I'm not very good at cliffhangers. I'm new to this whole hosting thing. But Keshia Garza, somebody I want to have speak to us for a little bit. Keshia and I, this is what I do. I am platform agnostic. I go everywhere people are, and I communicate the way I are. Whatever way kids are speaking these days, well, then I try to cool uncle that shit and figure out how to communicate with as many people as possible. And right now, that a lot of times means going into industry-specific, regional, city-specific Facebook groups and just asking questions. That's all I know how to do. And Keshia is somebody who responded to some questions that I had about, like, are you having issues with toxic cultures within restaurants? Like, let's talk about the systemic issues that we have all faced, that we sweep under the rug, that we now need to address, do something about, or that we're going to lose this industry. And Keshia was passionate, had great things to say, has worked in, top-rated kitchens across Chicago and the country, and has done the self-abuse and hierarchy-inflicted brigade abuse, and is now saying, I'm going to do something different. Is really a voice that I now look up to, because we just started interacting and working on articles for Best Served podcast and going to school, doing the food science thing, like really, really trying to make an impact. So I want Keshia to talk a little bit, because nutrition, portion size, understanding the food we're putting in our body as an extension of what Michellee was talking about is absolutely what Keshia is looking to bring into the market and have somebody be able to carry on. So Keshia, you want to tell us a little bit about food concept? What would you be thinking if you were trying to get food delivered into the bodies of people all across Chicago?
Oh, well, first, I can't go right into my concept, because that was just awfully nice of you, Jensen. And everyone, you all are inspiration and motivating for what I believe in. So I'm sorry. I wish Troy was here, because I definitely support what he's doing. But I just want to circle back on what everybody's talking about really quick. And I'm going to talk fast, so if you could keep up, great. If not, it's recorded. So, all right. So first, just from the beginning, how you guys are saying how everyone has transitioned into the ghost kitchen. One thing I definitely feel that chefs are a little bit of background on me. I was a chef. I'm a back of the house type of person, so I'm very used to being behind the scenes. So talking and presenting is new to me. This is actually my first time being on this. So being adaptable, right? Like we all have to be adaptable. So in order to transition, you have to be adaptable. And, looking at the numbers, how much food, the money that goes into food, 160 billion, and then 10 years are going to have, future, we're looking at trillions. And it's just insane how much money is being spent. So, one thing I really definitely want to touch on, Katie, is that I worked for Chef's Warehouse, which is a nationwide food distributor. And, food supply, working for the for a food distributor, there's definitely resources for everything. Like there wasn't anything that I couldn't find for my customers. So I would definitely recommend getting with maybe Chef's Warehouse, because I was able to source everything and anything, especially if I believed in it. If I could pitch it to my boss, I'm going to get the ingredient for you one way or the other. If it's coming from Mexico or if it's coming from California, I'm going to get you whatever ingredient that you need. So if you want to connect with me, feel free to message me. I could give you some pointers. And I also know that people who are starting with food products, they love going direct to restaurants. Like this kombucha brand that I worked with, Circle. I don't know if they're located in Ohio, I think Ohio. And they were hitting the restaurants and giving great prices, way better prices than the food distributors are going. Because food distribution, they're just margins, right? So the smaller you are, the more margin. So if you have one account that is only buying about $1,000 worth of food, you're probably getting marked at 50 to 75% margin above cost of what the distributor is making. Anyways, okay, so my concept, one serving, that's the name of it. So why eat 3 servings per meal when you can eat 1? So by law, serving sizes are based on the amount of food people typically consume and what nutrients determine consists of a healthy caloric diet. Utilizing 1 serving eliminates the pressure and decreases the social norms of overconsumption. Our social economic structure and marketing encourages overconsumption and excessive sale of food products. Where there is consumer demand, businesses will always try to meet that demand. Nutritional labels are my inspiration for the 1 serving concept. The government provides us with all the tools that we need to calculate appropriate serving sizes to feed the public. Being a chef, I find it very important to understand what's appropriate serving sizes to ensure public health and sustainability. We cannot avoid food-related illnesses in America. If people are consuming more than ever and 1/3 of the world's food products are being wasted, activists and scientists like myself are currently trying to find ways to actively combat food waste ending in our landfills and environmental impacts to our soil and water. There's only so much room on this planet for food and humans. Going back to what you guys just talked about, the vertical gardens. I mean, I see fish farms on land because there's no room. The waters are polluted, the soil's polluted. So what are we going to do? They can't even source it. So let's, why do all that when we could figure out ways to utilize the sources that we have and be sustainable? So there are currently 7.8 billion people living on the earth. Scientists project that human population in 2050 will be over 9 billion. As restaurant owners, workers, food producers, investors, shareholders, partnerships, it's all of our responsibility to combat global food issues together. It's time to start contributing and positively impacting change in how much food we consume. I study food science. I currently work for Mary Nutrasciences, who is dedicated to protecting consumers' health throughout the world by delivering a wide range of tests and consultancy services to the food and nutrition industries. I believe I can provide food to the public with a very simple approach: measuring appropriately. I use the FDA guidelines to figure out what are realistic serving sizings when dining out. Well, guess what? There isn't any. There is no official documents on serving sizing for takeouts. So this is a very new concept, and obviously is still under revision. All the takeout will be compostable to be environmentally friendly, organic, antibiotic-free, and sustainable food products. The goal is to have minimal food waste with expectations of improving public health. Why this is important to me? My family has a very long history of diabetes. My brother is currently on dialysis. He, is mainly because of all the bad food choices that are available on the market, like McDonald's, Popeyes, KFC. Working 12, 14-hour shifts, these guys are eating at these places twice, 3 times a day sometimes. There are no available healthy choices that are flavorful and good that people want. I mean, there's obviously a lot of marketing out there right now, like that Home Shot, they deliver the food. They tell you how much to eat per serving size, and then you make it and it tastes delicious. So why can't more concepts like these go out there? Okay, I'm done.
Keshia, for everybody listening, I just want to tell you, Keshia is in finals this week at school, in full school scholastic presentation mode, was so prepared, was so wanting every single word that she spoke to really have an impact. We worked on that little bit. I love that you just read it, and I want you to feel comfortable in the way that you communicate, and clearly creating a presentation is. So feel confident in the fact that we all heard you. We feel you. Everybody here, nobody gives a shit about a fucking burger concept here. Everybody is like, how does the burger tell a meaningful story? How does it have an impact on our community? How does it have an impact on our environment? That's what we're talking about here. And then if we can package that in a way that is thoughtful, that is equitable, profitable, and sustainable, then that's what we're here to do. So I appreciate that. I think interesting thing, I want to give practical feedback. Kyle, Shawn, come back to you guys a little bit on this. And we are at the hour. I think maybe we'll extend this 15 minutes. I do want to hear from Eric. I do want to hear from Joe. I do want to open up for a couple questions just to make sure that, again, this is part one of many, I'm sure, but just anything that's top of mind right now. However, what I think is interesting is I came up as a chef, and plate coverage was an important thing. And our fucking plates got bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And so I think it's an interesting thing. If the food is showing up and it's of small portions, how can we break the stereotypical approach of more is better? I know that's a huge issue. Kyle, Shawn, anything you guys see as the opportunity within the delivery model when that food shows up, that it is well received, both visually from a value standpoint, and then obviously what's going into your body. Thoughts there to give Keshia some feedback?
Loaded question, Jensen.
Yeah, I'm not pitching softballs here, right?
That's a loaded question. Well, first, I really want to emphasize the point. Keshia, I'm so happy that you came on stage to share your story. Katie, Michellee, this is literally the power of Clubhouse, and I can't underestimate or overstate how excited I am about the platform, because it's forcing Kyle, Jensen, Eric, these are guys that I respect the hell out of for the voices that they're adding to our industry, the interviews that they're doing, the work that they're doing to get the voices of all these incredible stories in the hospitality business that we all care about. But Keshia, Katie, Michellee, I'm hoping that you guys are starting to share your voices, not just on Clubhouse, but through your own podcast, through your own media, because that's what's important. And that's the beauty of the thing that we're all holding in our hands, is it can connect us in ways we all see the documentaries on Netflix. We all see the statistics about how bad social media is. But if you choose good, if you put yourself around good people, a rising tide lifts all ships. And I hope that we can continue to have these conversations. I know that Jensen, Kyle, myself, Eric, the people in the room, you guys are what makes this room happen. And I hope that we can just keep having this conversation. So I didn't answer your question.
That was very politician-y of you. Way to go. I was expecting you to answer my question by asking another question and answering that question, but I appreciate it. Here's what I'm going to tell you. It is very likely you will see Keshia, Katie, and Michellee with their own channels on Best Served. If it's a column on bestservedpodcast.com, on Best Served Read, if it's cooking Filipino food and showing people sig or different dishes, or if it's Michellee teaching people how to plant a tomato, you will see them represented, because that's the whole idea of our platform. So Keshia, I think one of the things that I want everybody thinking about with portion size, and we're going to say it again and again and again, you have to be able to communicate what people are going to get from this. What's in it for me does absolutely matter. Why should I care about nutrition? Why should I care about what I'm putting in my body? I think the value comes after you consume the food, and shifting when we place value on the perception of value is going to be key in that. What brands need to do that are in this more thoughtful space, and clearly that's what we're talking about between Troy, Michellee, Keshia, Katie, everybody, is we need to talk about the value of after you eat the food, the impact that it's going to have on how good we feel physically, mentally, emotionally. These are the things that people are caring about more and more and more. If you look at meditation, is $1 billion industry now. This is the reality of where we're at. We are starting to care. We just don't know how to connect our past failures with the opportunity that we have to do something different with our bodies. And food has been guilty, right? And there's a lot of things we can talk about of why you can get 2 cheeseburgers for $1 that are creating a competitive disadvantage for somebody who's amazingly well curated, ground themselves from a local rancher that's doing Scottish Highland cattle. Burger should be $16, $18 is a hard conversation to have. It has to be about shifting when we perceive value. So I think Keshia, Michellee, everyone, that is going to be the challenge. Now I say that like it's fucking easy. To Kyle's point, that is not easy. Marketing is the game that we're in, absolutely. And marketing is different than advertising. I want people to just know that. Marketing is storytelling, advertising is transactional sales. You need both. You need to separate them, and we haven't done a good enough job on that. Too many people are using social media to be like, buy my shit today, buy my shit today, buy my shit today, and they're not bringing value into their ecosystem. You have to do that. That's this. No matter what you do, no matter how you package it. So that's going to be super important. We're going to wrap here in a minute, and obviously got to get Eric Cacciatore up on stage to bring some insights and wisdoms and just the best voice in the business. I think as soon as I said your name, I tried to drop a little bit more into my announcer voice. Eric, did you feel that? I did it subconsciously.
You guys give me too much credit. I'm just happy to be here. It's been fun to listening in, and I don't have much more to add. Maybe just to reinforce. I think when ghost kitchens and this idea of virtual kitchens first came around, I think people initially were afraid of it. I think that's just kind of human nature. We are afraid of what we don't know, and I don't think we need to look. I think we were also maybe thinking that this might be the end all be all. Like at first, like this is going to take over restaurants. Physical restaurants are going to go away. We all know that's not true. I think it's more of a. We also know ghost kitchens aren't going anywhere. So I think you got to look at ghost kitchens as not this or that, but yes and. So like what you've been doing, and this is another opportunity. I think there's a lot of excitement around this. I think there's a lot of great opportunity that's coming. When I think of the benefits of ghost kitchens, I think of a lower barrier of entry. I think it's leveling the playing field, and I think that the ghost kitchen is going to be the new pop-up, and I think it's going to be a combination of doing ghost kitchens and doing pop-ups. It's just another tool in your utility belt that you can use to get your food into mouths, and I think it's exciting. I don't think that hospitality as we know it's going away. If anything, I think that to compound off of what you all have been sharing today is we are becoming more awake than ever. We're learning more about what humans need to be happy. And the cool thing is that all that reinforces kind of this trend that we've been going in, which is just like conscious capitalism of we need to start injecting soul in values into business. And I think, I'll admit I was a little afraid when I started hearing about ghost kitchens. I'm like, we worked so hard to make progress in the industry to share the stories of the farmers, of the people that this is their blood, sweat, and tears. And then you think of a ghost kitchen where you can just create a brand and make it as transactional as possible. I mean, I think it's the definition of being reactive, right? Just trying to get involved in something to make a bunch of money and it's sucking the soul out of it. But what you've been saying, and I think, Shawn, you reinforced this too, is that it's not about the food, it's about the story back of it. And really I think in going into the future, people are going to be so much more intentional with their money because they're going to spend money to feel good, and they're going to realize what makes you feel good is supporting those that are in your community. I think it's the evolution of it all. So I don't need to mention anything new. I just think that we should choose to be excited about it, and I think you should use this as a way to test markets or test concepts, test ideas, and just be as transparent as possible and continue to do what you've been doing, but just use this as an opportunity to get yourself out there more readily and more at a lower cost. That's all I got.
Yeah, thanks for that, Eric. As we do wrap this room, anybody who's in the audience, if you want to hit that little hand sign in the bottom right corner, if you do want to contribute anything, ask any questions, please do. We want to allow for that if there is anything. We covered a lot, so if everyone is just completely brain overload again, this will be up on our podcast channels this upcoming Tuesday, noon Eastern time, and with lots of links to resources so that you can kind of do some of your own homework and can get back into the mindset of what it would actually take to accomplish these things. And again, we'll get into a few more of these as well because there's just too much to cover in one. So again, if anyone has anything they'd like to ask, I'd like to leave space for that. Shawn and Kyle, last thoughts and where people can find you, where they can interact. We talked about it. Slide into those DMs. We're here to help.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Jensen, you did a phenomenal job moderating this room. It was really a lesson in how it's done. So thank you for that. I know that it's not easy. You're a real pro. So, kind of just one last thing to throw on everybody's plate here before we kind of end the show. But what I really do love about Ghost Kitchens from a real estate perspective is it allows operators to test markets, right? That they don't have to spend $1 million to do so. So if you're smart and you have your fastball and you want to bring it from Boston to Chicago, well, let's hook you up with a ghost kitchen place and see if you can pump out some volume from there, get some feedback. And you know what? Maybe it's a 3-month test. Maybe it's 6 months. Maybe it's a year. Maybe it does convert into an opportunity, but it gives you more flexibility, which I think is the overarching theme of what's happening in our industry. Is the more flexible, the more able you are to change to the growing trends or to the environment, then the better off you'll be. You guys can find me at Kyle Inserra on Instagram, LinkedIn, on the podcast, National Restaurant Owners Podcast. And thank you again, Jensen. Great job.
Great job, Jensen and Kyle. I'm committed to keep this conversation going forward every week. I'm not sure if we're going to do it at the same time. Like I said, I'll be tuning in from Bulgaria for the month of July, but I think it's important to keep having the conversation because it's so complicated. There's so much opportunity, but there's also risk involved. So I like the diversity of thought. The things that were added today are very important. And I wouldn't be as aggressive about the opportunity. We wouldn't be turning our 5,700 square foot restaurant into a master smokehouse. Literally, we've hired architects to develop plans to remove 150 seats from our restaurant so that we can add 10 smokers, so that we can open up 10 friendly ghost kitchens in San Diego County. I wouldn't be as bullish on that opportunity if it wasn't for what Kyle talked about, and that's the reduced cost to open up and test a new market. So I can go into a new market in San Diego, a place that through social polling, through Instagram, through Facebook, through Twitter, I can find out socially all the people that are engaging with our brand, where do they live and where would they like us to buy barbecue. But I can also use analytics from our tech partners to find out where are people searching for barbecue. And then with a ghost kitchen concept, a friendly ghost kitchen concept, I can get into 200 square feet, and because I'm smoking it at the master location, deliver it on a daily basis, fresh food. Once we're out, we slow smoke our barbecue. It's craft barbecue. Once we're out, we're out. But I can open up that location at less than $75,000 cost. That's significantly less than me opening up another full-service restaurant and sports bar in another part of San Diego. I mean, we're talking about a $1.5 to $2.5 million build-out depending on our location. And that's what's exciting for me. And back to the commitment, I don't have to have a 5 to 10 year lease at a ghost kitchen location. I don't actually have to go into a cloud kitchen or a group kitchen concept where there's other commissaries. I can be a part of a brewery. I can be a part of a hotel. The space is so flexible to test. And I think Eric Cacciatore made a great point, and that's, this is a new way to do pop-ups. It's a new way to do pop-ups. It's a new way for us to add revenue. And I look forward to keep having this conversation moving forward. Like I said, please follow Digital Hospitality Podcast. We talk about smartphone storytelling. I've had every podcaster that's in the room. Kyle's been on the show. Jensen's been on the show. Eric Cacciatore's been on the show. But the thing thing I love about Clubhouse is we can bring that podcast conversation into a room, and we can bring people that listen to the conversation, people that engage other thought leaders onto the stage to have a diversity of thought. And, one of the things I love is digital hospitality is our thesis. Every business needs to be digital, and every business needs to be in the hospitality business. But I also love counterpoints to my theory because it helps me better explain why I care about what I do. So anybody go to my profile. I'm active on Instagram. I'm active on all profiles, shocking. But you can get me on Instagram, Shawn P. Walchef, slide into my DMs, and we can keep the conversation going. And I hope you guys keep joining us weekly on these rooms.
What a great room. I'm going to lay some groundwork for the next rooms. I already kind of have an idea of some of the directions that we can take that. So definitely click on that greenhouse right here. Get on to Clubhouse if you're listening the recording on any of the podcasts, and go check out Digital Hospitality Club. You can just search that within Clubhouse. Check out the Best Served F&B Creatives Club, our club on Clubhouse. Follow all of us. If you can go into my profile, you can scroll to the bottom, and the very bottom left icon is Best Served F&B Creatives. Good way to find that, so you can keep in touch. The next room I think that we want to do is we want to break down the actual financials. What would it take? We talked about $1 million, $1.5 million. What's it going to take to get into one of these concepts, to transition into one of these concepts? Is it 20,000? Is it 50,000? Is it 5,000? What is it going to take to do that? So we'll break that down for you a little bit. And then I want to talk about the relationship, because we are all in the relationship business. I'm a broken record on that. And understanding all the relationships, all the baton handoffs where you're counting on somebody else to help you bring your vision to life and to sustain it as a viable business. Talking about relationships with third-party apps, with your technology, with the last mile solutions, with drivers showing up at your locations, with their ability to create hospitality from end to end, to the QR code that shows somebody how to cook your dish or tells them thank you. Thank you for ordering from us. And hey, if you ever have the opportunity to swing by the restaurant, to pick it up, to drop by our ghost kitchen, to pick up your food, or to go directly through our website, we'd be so grateful. And if ever you want to order through DoorDash again, we're also grateful for that. Create true hospitality through those relationships. Those will be the next two rooms that I definitely want to talk about in this. For me, Jensen at Best Served Podcast, email directly. Hit me up on any of the platforms, Best Served Podcast, Jensen Cummings, anywhere. I will absolutely respond and find the people that can support you. If it's me, if it's Sophie on our team, if it's Andrew on our team, if it's anybody, Corey on our team, if it's Mimi Land, who we've been working on with Clubhouse, if it's Sean, Kyle, Eric, somebody has the opportunity to support you. You are not alone. Being an entrepreneur feels very lonely. And then please go check out bestservedpodcast.com. It takes you directly to our blog. You're going to see a lot more stories being told there from people who have not been anointed by food media. That's a whole different conversation, that we believe their voice matters. You'll see things from Keshia. You'll see stories from chefs like Joshua Wolbutt, who's been at Lebanon Madison Park and now has a son and saying, would I want my son to be a chef? These are the questions that we're asking ourselves as individuals, as teams, as businesses, as communities, as food people, as indispensable in our communities. Essential doesn't even begin to cover it. Indispensable, unstoppable, as Eric calls it. And that's what we need to focus on. That's it. I appreciate everybody for being here. Keshia, Katie, Michellee, Kyle, Shawn, everybody who contributed, everybody who's taking a moment out of their busy day, picking up their phone and listening to us babble. Truly grateful. So we're going to end the room on that note, and we will see you back in the Clubhouse or on the podcast very soon.